One of the most challenging things buyers face in the spring market in Chicago is a multiple offer situation. And it's how do we make our offer stand out and win the deal? And that can be hard to do, but there's lots of strategies I like to use. And one we just did this past week, actually, and we beat out a cash offer. So it can happen. So I'm Kim Griffiths, your Chicago realtor. I'm a Lakeview resident, a mom of three, a Bravo aficionado, and a lover of all things Chicago real estate. So anyways, we just discussed how do we make those offers stand out? So the first thing I like to do in the contract is we write it as is offer. Now, this isn't always what we're going to do depending on the style of property, the age, the updates, the things we kind of notice when we walk through. But if we feel fairly confident and it's in our price range, we're going to do an as is offer, and we are going to select inspection, no requests. On the 8.0 contract here in Chicago, there's another option where you can do inspection with requests. Now, to me, if I was the seller's agent, I would say that's not really as is. They're still going to ask for something. So we're basically showing the seller, we are not going to nickel and dime you. We want this property and we want an inspection to know what we're getting into. Now, as the buyer's agent, that does not mean we are going to say, oh yes, we're going to buy the house with a leaking roof. No, if we unearth something during the inspection, we're going to discuss it with the seller's agent and we will come to an agreement. We will discuss amongst ourselves, do we want to credit or do we want to walk away, or are we comfortable just accepting the property the way it is? Now, mind you, the sellers, it's in their best interest to close the deal too. So if they find out that there is a leaking roof, they now have to disclose it if they go back on the market. So it's in everyone's best interest to get the deal done. So we'll try to find an agreement that works for everybody. The second thing I like to do is an appraisal gap waiver. So some of the reason that people like cash, the sellers like cash, obviously you can close. There's no one that has to approve anything. It's your money. But we can make our offer stronger by putting an appraisal gap waiver. And what that's saying is if your property does not, the lender sends out the appraiser, and if it does not appraise at what we are offering, we're saying we're going to cover the difference basically between what the lender is willing to loan you and what it appraised at and what we put in for our offer. So that strengthens our offer in terms of the seller that's saying, listen, if this appraises for $10,000 or $20,000 less, they're not going to back out. They still want the place, and we will work with your lender to come up with the best solution in terms of if you're going to finance the difference. If you're putting 20% down, it's really not a big deal. Maybe you're going to have to go for PMI. There's lots of different ways we can get creative. And also, if the appraisal happens while we're still in attorney review, we can discuss that too. It's just a great way. If you have the cash, it's a property you really want, it's a great way to strengthen your offer. The next thing I like to do is I talk to the seller's agent and I want to find out what is important to the seller. Are they under contract somewhere else and they need that cash quickly? Do they need a lease back? Is there a certain date that matters to them? We want to appeal to that. So we're going to pick a closing date that works for us, but we're going to make sure it's really meeting the seller's needs, as well as we're going to offer that free lease back, or we might charge pity. It's really up to us and them, what they choose. But if it's in our financial means, when we're making our offer, we can craft that offer with a quick close, depending on what lender you're working with. Right now, I'm working on a deal. We're going to close in 3 weeks. And we can offer that lease back. So most lenders will allow you to lease back for up to 60 days. I try to do it for 30 or less with my clients, but it often strengthens our offer because it allows them to get their cash quickly. If you don't need to move in right away, it allows them to stay in the place while they're closing on their next property. And it just can strengthen our offer. If we're, really close with another offer, it's a good way for us to make our offer stand out without having to increase our offer price. So those are the 3 main ways that I try to make our offer stand out. And it's worked so far. So if you want to chat and discuss strategy, I'd love to connect.